as the presentation gets where it needs to be, hi everybody. It's lovely to be here. I am a friend of Epic Web 3. I've been here for a little bit. This is not my first rodeo, but I'm excited to talk to you about this first, which is a very weird spell name. So we changed the title. So the new title is Tackling a $2 billion Problem in Production, an OEV Design That Actually Works, which I think it's a bit more appealing. And obviously you may say, what is the $2 billion problem? Why is this much money not being captured now? And this is what we're going to talk about so far, if the clicker helped me, which doesn't. Aha. OK, so problem. How many of you know about liquidation? Show of hand. All right. Good majority. Very nice. So as you know, whenever positions have to be liquidated, there is a tiny little thing that is called MEV, which now gets mostly captured by bots. So these bots effectively engage in what I call a knife fight in the form of a gas war. And they try to front-run each other and get as much value extracted from the liquidation as possible. This obviously is bad for a number of reasons. Right? You have no money that goes back into the protocol. There's a lot of gas that gets wasted, aside from the fact that the chain gets really spammed with a bunch of transactions. And all there is control of all of this is all outsourced. So effectively, nobody knows exactly what's happening. It's not a system, and in blockchain we like systems, and we like stuff to be transparent and to be organized. It's just a knife fight. And on top of that, the protocols lose out on all of that liquidation bonus, and they lose out on all the MEV. And this accounts for literally $2 billion every year. The better way to do this is what we call OEV, which stands for Optimal Extractable Value. So what we're doing is we're moving the problem from on-chain to an off-chain auction. What happens is simple. Whenever there is a transaction that needs to, so whenever there is a price update that potentially creates a liquidation, after the transaction phase, before the MEV phase, we do insert an auction, and that auction effectively is our way to decide who gets to liquidate, as opposed to what actually happens now, which is just everybody can liquidate and they just race each other. But obviously, when we started tackling this problem, we were thinking how to do it practically. My background is in engineering, and at Redstone we have phenomenal people on our engineering team. And we try to do things in a data-driven way. So we started from the end. We started from what we want to achieve. What is that this system needs to have for us to call it a success? And we decided on 5 things. So we wanted this to be fast. So very importantly, the protocols don't have to slow down because this exists. And they should just get value. And if this doesn't work for whatever reason, the transaction needs to be exactly the same transaction as now. So we just push the price update. So at the very worst, this is as fast as it is now. In the best case scenario, this is actually better. Secondly, it needs to be easy. I'm an engineer, so I'm lazy. And you guys are engineers, so are lazy. And we all know that we don't want to make code changes to do new things. And the least amount of code changes we can make, especially in some of the lending protocols that are immutable when it comes to markets, the easier it's going to be to adapt this and to adopt this. Then it needs to be safe. This is first and foremost always my personal priority and the priority of everyone at Redstone technical team. Reliability, security goes above everything else. Goes above profit, goes above speed, goes above everything. Furthermore, We want this to be open and permissionless. I'm an OG blockchain guy. I'm sure that many of you are as well. I don't like permission system, and I still like to believe that the whole reason why we started this blockchain thing in the first place was to move away from control and trusting single entities. So we want this to be as open as possible. And finally, we're a cross-chain protocol, so we wanted this to be cross-chain and be adaptable to all of our EVM integration easily. Just as a note, this is not optional. So we didn't put this list together as nice-to-haves. We put this list together as this is what we need to do. And if we can achieve all of these things, great. If we cannot achieve all of these things, then we need to go back to the drawing table and redo it. We managed to tick all of those boxes. We managed to make something that is fast, that is secure, that is cross-chain, doesn't require code changes. And we managed to make something that is actually very, very easy to implement. It has two parts. We work with a phenomenal company which is called Fastlane. They've been in MEV for a very long time. And also, just like us and many of you, they're not happy with how MEV works now. So what they did was create an all-off-chain system that is called Atlas that effectively runs an auction. And we took care of all the on-chain and relayer part and the price feed update as we know how to do. So in other words, you can read this as we leverage our expertise and the things that we are the best in class for, and they leverage their expertise and the things that they are the best in class for. We put our heads together, and we got a best in class product. The way that it works is very, very simple. The technical people of you will get it and will have a bunch of questions that I can answer after the presentation. The less technical people of you hopefully will understand this very seamlessly. There is a price update. And this price update can potentially trigger a liquidation. This is what Redstone does today. This is what every Oracle does today. The moment that Redstone realizes that, we start an off-chain auction. This happens around every 2 to 3 seconds. And in this auction, all the potential liquidators, they bid in a closed seal bid for the right to liquidate a specific position. We then take the result of the auction, put it together with the price update, and our Redstone relayer within the same transaction sends both on-chain in an atomic way. This is crucial because this is exactly the thing that doesn't slow down the protocol. Right? You have all the information at the same time as you have it now, without having to delay and wait for maybe another block to get the liquidation information, right? Or wait for a certain interval. After that happens, the transaction goes on chain. The liquidator that actually won the auction can liquidate the position, and they do. If they don't, we have a try-catch mechanism. So we try the first liquidator. If they don't liquidate, we go to the second, and then the third, and then the fourth, and so on, until the position gets liquidated. In the worst-case scenario, which is basically two scenarios, either nobody bids in the auction or nobody liquidates. If nobody bids in the auction, very easy. We just fall back to the regular price update, same exact thing that it works today, so at the very worst, nothing changes. If nobody liquidates, same thing, right? Like the position gets open and everyone can liquidate whenever they want in the next block or in the next few blocks. It's pretty great. The kicker is this whole thing takes about 300 milliseconds, and we're trying to bring that down. But 300 milliseconds is a fair time, we think, for this to happen. As I said, this is a worst-case scenario. So it means that our fallback, if no bid comes within the auction process, happens after 300 milliseconds. We're trying to reduce that. Our goal is 150. But 300 milliseconds is already faster than most chains. It's already faster than how most protocols can operate. So we are actually making the protocols faster because they can do more things at the same time. And in the very worst case scenario, we're just making them same speed. We did a POC for this. So this doesn't just exist in theory. We're actually in live today. But 6 months ago, when we were thinking about this, we did a POC with Venus. Venus is a pretty big landing protocol. We work with them on BNB chain. And over a month, we just built this and let this run in production. And we were just like, OK, let's figure out how it is. Closely monitored, obviously, lots of fail-safe. But what happened in that month is that we recaptured directly for the protocol $6,000. Venus doesn't have a lot on liquidation, and obviously we did it on like a very specific market. So proportionally, this is a big number for us. The total liquidation volume was 165,00 next row $0. So $165,000. About 19 liquidations. So one every, like 3 a day, pretty much on average. And the best thing about all of this is that we did it in a time of fairly high volatility because this was December last year. So as you can probably remember, the volatility was quite significant at times. And we had exactly 0 downtime. Nothing broke. The fact that nothing broke kind of scared me. And I was like, OK, this is fantastic, but what do we learn from this actually? Right? Even if nothing breaks, you always need to try to get some learnings from what you're building, especially from POC. This is the whole point of having a POC. So we decided to sit on the table, and we did gather our learnings. And we have 4 main takeaways. So system worked out of the box. No code changes to Venus. It's awesome. Right? This is exactly what we wanted. They were happy. The lift was minimal on their hand. So that tells me this is scalable. Right? I can deploy it to many protocols. I can deploy it to many chains. And then protocols are going to be happy because we're just going to effectively give them for free in technical effort terms. Secondly, liquidators didn't need to change the infrastructure. Very important thing. Because these are the people that we didn't talk about so far. We always talked about them as actors, but they do have a say in what happens today. And if they have to change infrastructure, if they have to change their system, this can cause problems. Furthermore, Redstone handled all the sequencing, all the execution, all the fallback completely seamlessly. And this was good because all means that all the systems that we put in place, they actually did work, and they actually were able to capture those edge cases that we were thinking of. And finally, this is real value. Like, we actually gave real value back to the protocol. And it's not just about the $6,000 or the $165,000 out of liquidation. It's about infrastructure value, and it's about protocol value as a whole. It's a protocol that can do this. I believe, that it will win in the long term compared to a protocol that doesn't do this. Because the users will be having a lot of benefits, none less the fact that they will be able to know exactly when liquidation happens, where the money goes, and potentially get some of that back. I was in integration for a very long time, and I am very passionate about integration, mostly because integrations, they need to be easy. And I always say integration shouldn't exist. Integration is just something that should happen, and it should not take effort and days and time on end. So we made this very, very easy to integrate. The way that it integrates is, step 1, somebody in the protocol whitelists the Redstone relayer, and there's no step 2. That's it. Very, very simple. We do a bunch of work on our end, but the work that we do on our end, which is setting up the Atlas auction and changing the relayer so they communicate with the chain in the way that we want, the atomic transaction, all of these things, they happen on our end once per chain. And then integration with the protocols is just as simple as turning it on. So In other words, if you run an ending protocol and you're already using Redstone feeds, you just basically get OEV. It's just on. No need to do anything. Just whitelist the layer. And this is a big win, I think. We're not the only people that are doing OEV. I believe we are the people that are doing OEV the best. But this slide really is relevant for everybody. And we want everyone to win. Like Redstone mission was always make DeFi better. And so for us, this is not just a revenue play. We want protocols, users, and liquidators alike to win in this new system. And we believe they do, because protocols, they capture the value that was previously leaked to bots. So obviously, this is better capital efficiencies. This is more aggressive lending strategies. It reduces risk of bad debt. So beside the revenue that they actually do get, there's also like a benefit, for example, to the users, because they can have, at this point, more predictable liquidation processes, less slippage. They can have better borrowing terms, because obviously the protocol doesn't have to account for all the MEV that they lose. And finally, it's also good for liquidators. We got some pushback when we were pitching this idea to liquidators of like, okay, well, but I'm winning the gas war, so like, why do I need this? But at the same time, most liquidators, they win the gas war on specific things, on specific chain. We're just abstracting this away. We're creating like a one way to just bid for liquidations, and in a way helps them too. Also because we create a fair market. So, there's no whitelist, there's no like co-location, no like under the table or over the table deals or shake of hands. Everyone can participate and everyone can start liquidating. The liquidation system that Atlas put is open source on GitHub. Go check it out and just run a liquidator yourself. You can do this today. So the whole system works better. And on top of that, we built this to support every single EVM chain. We want to do that because obviously EVM is the king of DeFi still today. Obviously, we're seeing a lot of expansion of DeFi in different chains, but Ethereum and the Ethereum virtual machine is where most of Redstone integrations are. So we wanted to start with the biggest pool that we could possibly start with. Now we're already live on BNB chain and on Unichain, and we will soon be live on Hypercore, Base, and Katana. Finally, and I'm going to close with this slide and the next one, which is just a small recap. You heard Redstone talking a lot about RWA. We just released the RWA report, and we obviously thought about OEV for real-world assets. And institutions, they're tricky, right? We're not just talking about liquidating like small positions. These are like hundreds of millions of dollars. And effectively, they have the challenge that they are much more risk averse. They don't want unexpected losses. So OEV, we see it effectively as a security layer for these institutions. We can make liquidations instant. We don't have any sort of gas war. They can be relying on OEV for safer looping and for higher LTV and therefore more competitive APY. So having the system in place makes the institution actually want to utilize blockchain more. So to recap, before I leave you, effectively, we see this as the MEV primitive that we've all been missing. And some people talked about it, but not enough. And this is why today I am talking about it in front of all of you. Liquidations are really one of the most valuable mechanisms in DeFi. And there's a lot of us, even if we put money in lending protocol, if we borrow, they don't really know how it works. Hopefully OEV brings transparency to that at a very infrastructure level. We are turning a byproduct effectively into a revenue stream, and we're turning a byproduct into a process, which is something that is always good when it comes to transparency and the values of blockchain that we all abide to. And finally, as I said, and I cannot stress this enough, this is not just a revenue stream. We see this as a real piece of infrastructure that it was missing. And like everything that Redstone does, we want to contribute to DeFi and the ecosystem and infrastructure, and we're not in it just to get a quick buck. I was Mike Massari. Thank you so much for your time. It's been lovely talking to all of you.